All right, welcome to Chicago English with Soon-Chan Alex, reading book The Lemonade War, right? As you see down below, chapter 3. We read chapter 1 and 2 together last time, and we were introduced to the 3 characters, well, 4. The 2 main characters seems like Evan and his sister Jessie. And then at the end of chapter 2, Scott, Evan's friend, although not really a friend, he seems like a bad friend, actually. And then the 4th character, they mentioned Evan's mother, but we haven't met her yet. She's upstairs in the attic office. So she works at home. When is it? It's summertime, right? It's the last week of summer. It's very hot out. And what is the conflict? Remember, the conflict the fight between Evan and his sister. She is skipping a grade. She's going to enter 4th grade, and Evan is 4th grade. So that is kind of rubbing Evan the wrong way. He's getting a bad vibe. He doesn't want to be with his sister, and I understand. He wants his own class. He wants his own friends. He wants his own atmosphere. So he's having a hard time with that, and also probably jealous. She seems very smart. So that's the conflict. That's what we're going to be fighting through the rest of the book until it gets worked out. Now, what happened at the end of chapter 2? At the end of chapter 2, Evan and Scotty are making a lemonade stand. They spelt it wrong, lemonade stand. And they're not going to let Jessie. Well, Evan's not letting Jessie help. So that's where we're at. They're going out to make a lemonade stand. I'm guessing Jessie's going to make a lemonade stand too. You can't have a lemonade war with just one lemonade stand. So she'll probably make her own lemonade stand, and we'll see what's happening. That's only my guess. I'm reading the book a little different this time. You'll see. Usually I use my finger or a pen or my paintbrush, but I'm taking pictures and I'm just going to read over. I'm going to read slow so you can listen. And I want you at home to highlight, my students, highlight the words you don't know or the vocabulary words so you can ask me in class, Alex, teacher, what does this mean? Mueo. And then we can talk about it in class. All right. So first things first, 3 vocabulary, 2, 1, bam, boom. Righty. Vocabulary for chapter 3. Joint venture, a noun, working together. Impromptu, adjective. We are an impromptu family. We just like to go with the flow. Abuse, verb, noun. Bruised, adjective. Opportunity, noun. Profit, noun, my favorite noun. Vendor, noun. Brim, noun. Infestation, noun. Corpse, noun. Siche, oh no. Chilled, adjective. I like my beer chilled. Bite, noun. Expectantly, adjective. Pedestrian, noun. Sweet talk, noun or a verb. Hey, sweet talk. How you doing, girl? Consultant, noun. Optimist, noun. Estimate, noun or a verb. Estimate, excuse me. Chintzy, adjective. Gallon, noun. Majestic, noun. Commander, noun. Weasel, noun. Assignment, noun. Do your homework, it's assignment. Chemical warfare. Oh, geez. How are they having chemical warfare in a lemonade stand? Warfare, noun. Natural, adjective. Pitcher, noun. Discard, verb. Silence, noun. Ferociously, adjective. They fought ferociously. Ferociously, adjective. Energy, noun. Hatching a plan, verb. To make a plan, to hatch a plan, to carry out your plan. Direction, noun. Cheating, verb. Don't do that. Sneer, a verb. Cooked, cocked head, verb. Fistful, noun. Heel, turn on, noun, verb. And a bell, ring my bell, is a noun. Alrighty, let's get ready to read. 3. Joint venture. Joint venture. 2 or more people joining forces to sell a certain amount of goods or to work on a single project. When the goods are sold or the project is finished, the joint venture ends. That's a joint venture. Your sister is really... Shut up, said Evan. Huh? Just shut up. She's okay. She doesn't... Look, she's okay. So just shut up. Don't use that word. That's a bad word. Why, okay. Yeah, okay, said Scott, holding up his free hand to show me he meant peace. Evan was getting abused on both sides. The heavy cooler was banging against his inside leg with every step, and the plastic chairs were scraping against his outside leg. Bruised and bloodied, he thought to himself. All for the fun of hanging out with Scott Spencer. Sarcastic. Why couldn't Jack have been home, or Ryan? And why did Adam have to be on the Cape this weekend? It stunk. How far are we walking? Grunted Scott. Just to the corner. Evan watched as drops of sweat fell off his face and landed on the hot sidewalk. We should have stayed in the driveway. It was shaded. The corner's better, trust me, said Evan. He remembered when Jessie had said the same words to him last summer. They were setting up a lemonade stand together, and Evan had been grumbling about dragging the cooler across the street and down 2 houses, just like Scott. But Jessie had insisted. There's sidewalk on this side, she said, so we'll get the foot traffic coming in both directions, and people in cars coming around the curve will have time to see us and slow down. Besides, there are a bunch of little kids on the side street, and their mothers won't want them crossing Damon Road. Damon Road, huh? Damon, oh my gosh. The corner's better. Trust me. And she was right. They'd made a ton of money that afternoon. It took 10 seconds to set up the lemonade stand. Evan unfolded the chairs and set one on each side of the cooler. Scott tilted the sign toward the street for maximum effect. Then they both sat down. Man, it is hot, said Evan. He took off his baseball cap and wiped the sweat from his face with his shirt. Then he grabbed an ice cube from the cooler. balanced it on his head, and stuck his cap back on. "Yeah," said Scott, "I'm thirsty." He reached into the paper bag and pulled out a cup. It was one of those large red plastic cups that vendors use at professional baseball games. Then Scott took one of the pitchers from the cooler and filled the cup to the brim with lemonade. "Hey, not so much," said Evan, pouring himself a cup too, but only part way. He glugged down half his drink. Not bad, he thought, though he noticed a dead fruit fly floating on the top. His mom had been battling a mad fruit fly infestation ever since the weather had turned really warm. The kitchen sink area where they kept their fruit bowl was dotted with tiny, feathery fruit fly corpses. Yeah. Scott drained his cup and tossed it on the ground. "Ah," he said, satisfied. "That was good. I'm going to have another." Evan reached for the trash cup and stowed it under his seat. "Nah, come on, Scott. You're gonna drink all our profits if you do that." He stretched his legs out by putting his feet on top of the cooler. "Just chill." "I'm gonna chill by having another cup," said Scott. There it was, that mean bite in Scott's voice. Evan's shoulders tensed up. "Move your feet," said Scott. "It's hot out here." "Dude, you're..." Evan sat up expectantly and looked down the street. "Hey, here comes our first customer." A mother pushing a double stroller came into view. At the same time, one of the kindergartners from down the street rode her bike up, noticed the sign, and quickly peeled back to her house. Within 5 minutes, there was a small crowd of neighborhood kids and pedestrians buying lemonade from the stand. Evan let Scott handle all the money, while he took care of pouring and the sweet talk. That's what his mother called it when a salesperson chatted her up. "Trust me," she said, once had once told Evan and Jessie, "buying something is only half about getting something. The other half is all about human contact." She's smart. That's 100% right. Mrs. Tresky knew about these things because she was a public relations consultant. She'd even written a booklet called 10 Bright Ideas to Light Up Your Sales for one of her clients. And Evan was like her. He was good at talking with people, even grown-ups. It was easy for him, so he kept the conversation flowing along with the lemonade. People hung around. Most of them bought a second cup before they left. Evan was so busy he almost didn't notice Jessie flying out of the garage on her bike and riding down the street toward town. Good riddance, he thought, but at the same time he wondered where she was going. During a lull in business, Evan walked around the stand picking up discarded plastic cups. Scott sat in his chair, jingling the coins in his pocket. "Man, we are gonna be so rich," said Scott. "I bet we made $5 already. I bet we made 10. How much you think we made?" Evan shrugged. He looked at the stack of used cups in his hand and counted the rims. 14. They'd sold 14 cups so far, and each cup of lemonade cost 50 cents. Evan heard Mrs. DeFanzo's voice in his ear. Mrs. DeFanzo had been his third-grade teacher, and she'd done everything she could to help Evan with his math. If 1 cup of lemonade sells for 50 cents and you sell 14 cups of lemonade, how much money have you made? Word problems. Evan hated word problems. And this one was impossible anyway. He was pretty sure the right equation was 14 times 50. But how was he supposed to solve that? That was double-digit multiplication. There was no way he could do a problem like that. And besides, some of those 14 people had bought refills, but used the same cup. How many? Evan didn't know. Still, he knew they'd made a pretty good amount of money. That estimate was close enough for him. How much do you think we could make if we sold it all? Asked Scott. I don't know, said Evan. Maybe $20? That sounds high, even to him, but Evan was an optimist. Do you really think? Both boys looked in the cooler. 3 pitchers were empty. They only had half a pitcher left. You were pouring the cups too full, said Scott. You should have poured less in each one. You're the one who bought the huge plastic cups. You could fit a gallon in one of those, said Evan. Besides, I wasn't going to be chintzy. They're paying a whole half a buck for it. They deserve a full cup. And anyway, we can just go home and make more. My mom has cans of lemonade in the freezer. So go home and make more, said Scott. Oh, yes, Your Majesty. Oh, High Commander. Your infantness. Why don't you go and make it? 'Cause I'm chillin', said Scott, leaning back in his chair with a stupid grin on his face. Evan knew he was just joking, but this was exactly why he didn't like Scott. He was always thinking of himself, always looking for some way to come out on top. If they were playing knockout, basketball game, so fun, Scott always came up with a new rule that helped him win. If they were doing an assignment together, Scott always figured out how to divide it so he had less work to do. The kid was a weasel. No 2 ways about it. A weasel doing less work. But everyone else was out of town. Evan didn't want to spend the day alone. And Jessie was on his poop list, as Mom called it, when the dog did something he wasn't supposed to do. Evan might never play with Jessie again. Evan crossed the street and went into the house. He was surprised to find that there were no more cans of lemonade in the freezer. Wow! There had been so many this morning. Luckily, there was a can of grape juice in the freezer and a bottle of ginger ale in the fridge. It'll work, he thought. People just want a cold drink. They don't care if it's lemonade. He mixed up the grape juice at the sink. The fruit flies were more out of control than ever. Thanks to the lemonade the boys had dripped on the countertop. Evan swatted a couple, but most of them drifted out of his reach and settled on the fruit bowl. He wished his mother believed in chemical warfare. But for Mrs. Tedeschi, it was all natural or nothing. Usually nothing. When he went back outside to the lemonade stand, Evan noticed that the last pitcher was turned upside down on the cooler. "Oh, come on, Scott," he said. "What? It was hot, and you said we could always make more." Man, Scott is bad. "Yeah, well, we don't have as much in the house as I thought. I've got grape juice and ginger ale." "I hate ginger ale," Scott said. "I wouldn't give you a penny for it." It turned out a lot of people felt the same way. Business was definitely slower. The day got hotter. The sun beat down on them so ferociously that it was easy to imagine the sidewalk cracking open and swallowing them whole. Fanning himself, Evan asked, "How much money do you really think we could make?" "I don't know," said Scott, pushing his baseball cap down over his eyes. "I mean, on a hot day like this," Evan said, silently adding the words, "or tomorrow. If we sold 8 pitchers of lemonade, what do you think we'd make?" 8 pitchers? I don't know." Scott shook his head. His baseball capped face wagged back and forth. "Too hot for math, and it's summer." Evan pulled the red pen out of his pocket and started to write on the palm of his hand. 8 times question mark. 8 times 50 divided by 2 question mark. That didn't seem right. Jessie would know. She'd do the math in a second. Evan capped the pen and jammed it into his pocket. "But I bet it's a lot," said Evan. "I bet on a hot day like this we could actually make some real money in the lemonade business." "Yeah," said Scott. "Then we'd be rich, and I'd get an Xbox, the new one, with the dual controls." "I'd get an iPad," said Evan. He'd been saving for one for over a year, but every time he had some money put away, well, it just disappeared. Like the $10 from Grandma. She'd even written in her card, "Here's a little something to help you get that music thing you want." But the money was gone. He'd treated Paul and Ryan to a slice of pizza at Town House. It had been fun. "That would be so great to listen to music whenever I want," said Evan. "I could tune you out," he added in his own head. Tune out at Scott. They sat in silence, feeling the heat suck away every bit of their energy. Evan was hatching a plan. The heat wave was supposed to last at least 5 days. If he had and a friend, not Scott, set up a lemonade stand every day for 5 days, he'd definitely have enough to buy an iPad. He imagined himself wearing it as he walked to school, wearing it on the playground. "Hey, Megan." "Yeah, it's my iPad. Sweet, huh?" Wearing it to class when the teacher droned on about fractions and percents. "Nah, but it would be so cool. At least there'd be one thing that didn't totally stink about going back to school." After 2 hours, they decided to call it quits. Stop. Sales had dropped off fast, and then stopped together, all together. Hey, did you notice something? Asked Evan, stacking the chairs. What? Said Scott. When we started the stand, most of our business came from that direction. He pointed down the street toward the curve in the road. But after an hour, not one person who walked past us from that direction bought a cup. Not one. They all said no thanks and kept on walking. Why do you think? Don't know, said Scott. Boy, you're a real go-getter, said Evan. You know that? A go-getter working hard. Scott socked him on the chest, but Evan defended and knocked Scott's cap off. While Scott was scrambling for his hat, Evan said, Just hang here for a minute, okay? And set off down the street. As soon as he rounded the curve, he knew why business had fallen off so badly. There was Jessie and Megan Moriarty, last name, from his class. They were standing inside a wooden booth, and their signs said it all. Lemonade, frosty, delicious, thirst-quenching. Wow, only 50 cents per cup. Megan Moriarty? Moriarty. I'm bad with names. By the looks of it, their business was booming. Doing great, selling a lot. Evan watched as Jessie accepted a fistful of bills, from a mother surrounded by kids. At that moment, Jessie looked up and saw him. Evan had a weird feeling, like he'd been caught cheating on a test. He wanted to run and hide somewhere. Instead, he froze. What would Jessie do? Evan couldn't believe it. She sneered at him. She cocked her head to the side and gave him this little, I'm so much better than you smile. And then she waved the money in her hand at him. She waved it as if to say, Look how much we've made selling lemonade. Bet you can't beat that. Evan turned on his heel and walked away. Behind him, he could hear Megan Moriarty laughing at him, clear as a bell. End of chapter 3. Alrighty, we just finished chapter 3. What do you think? I was right. Like I said, I've never read this book before. This is the first time I'm reading. I'm reading with you. That's why I'm getting some of the names wrong. I'm terrible with names and reading. My dyslexia. I see words backwards and I read them out of line sometimes. So please bear with me. All right. So what just happened? Well, yeah. Evan and Scotty just made a lemonade stand. Not a great lemonade stand. And joint venture, Scotty and Evan. Kind of a bad joint venture, right? Scotty's drinking all the lemonade. He's not working that hard. He's holding on to the money. I wouldn't trust him. Evan can't do math. How much money? 14.50 cents. That's $7. Come on. And I'm an English teacher. So anyways, that's what's going on there. They run out of lemonade. They go home. It's gone. Why? Because Jessie did make a lemonade stand. And she's smart. She picked a better spot down the street. We call that upstream. She upstreamed them. She went before where the traffic comes from, upstream. I hate when people do that in a taxi. So and then at the end of the chapter, now we have the tension is rising even more because Evan found out. He went and he saw, and he thinks she waved the money in his face to brag. And she had that beautiful sign with butterflies. So the tension is rising. the lemonade war is starting. Okay, so we're gonna see it. There's about 5 days left in summer, 5 days left in this heat wave. What's gonna happen? Are they gonna fight? Evan wants to get that iPod, and are they gonna come together? We shall find out. All righty. Stay with me, guys. Any questions, like I said, ask me at the Hagwan. Anyone at home, Hagwan Academy, anyone at home, message down below. Bring your books to class, take notes in your book, and let's see what happens together. All right, guys? Have a great night. Alex, Sunchan Alex, out.